Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I'll be providing my book review of the book The Princess and the Scoundrel by Beth Revis. I actually have been really excited for this book for a long while because Beth Revis wrote a book that I really enjoyed, Rebel Rising, a couple of years ago, actually 5 years ago now. Wow, back in 2017, mid-2017, she wrote this book. It is one of my favorite YA books. In a couple of weeks, I have my YA Star Wars canon books ranked, and this is very high on the list. It was such a unique, fun book. It did YA the way I want YA done, and so this was a very good book. And I was excited when I heard not only is she getting another book, she's getting an adult novel, which I was also really excited about. And I was also very interested in the timeline that it was a post-Return of the Jedi book. I was a little bit hesitant because anytime you write anything post-Return of the Jedi, it's really going to cause some consternation among fans, especially if it has the potential to step on people's toes. And this does have the potential to step on people's toes because there are some very fervent, adamant, not only EU fans, but Courtship of Princess Leia fans, which covers tonally several similar things. Plot and also like background is actually very different in these two books, but they cover several similar tones, which is why I think there's some controversy around it, and I will get to that in the review. The first thing I'll say about this book, though, that I'm reviewing, is it's absolutely delightful. I just had a blast. It was so fun. It doesn't have this sense of adding this crazy amount of depth to the Star Wars universe. It doesn't explore themes too deeply. It is just a sweet romance between Han and Leia, but they get caught up in some galaxy important stuff, and it keeps them from enjoying their honeymoon. This is set immediately after the events of Endor. Like literally, the Battle of Endor's just happened. They're still on Endor, and stuff's happening, and they get engaged and married real quick here. And I actually liked that because it has some similarities to how in post-war times people often did get married and start having children really quickly. Particularly, Star Wars has a lot of ties to World War I in its storytelling, and post-World War I, there was a huge engagement, marriage, and baby boom that happened, and so you kind of see the start of that with Han and Leia, as they're like the first couple to get married post Return of the Jedi. And so you see them quickly get the wedding ready. You see the wedding unfold, which is just delightfully funny. There's stuff that happens that just puts a smile on your face because the Ewoks are involved. Oh, it's so funny. And then they have to go on the honeymoon, and right as they think they're finally gonna have the first time off they've ever had together, and wouldn't you know it, the Empire's arrived, and the Empire's not going away yet. And so they have to deal with some stuff, and it's just a fun romp towards the end. The first 2/3 of the book, now I wouldn't even say 2/3, it's even more like the first half of the book, is just a fun romance, and then the second half of the book turns into your traditional action book that Star Wars books tend to be. So I really enjoyed this book overall. I think that what Beth Revis did absolute best in this book is getting the characters of Han and Leia. That is something that is very important in media tie-in fiction. You cannot simply just write about characters. You have to understand them. You have to get their voice, the dialogue. What's coming out of Han's mouth has to feel like I could see Harrison Ford saying it on screen. Same with Leia, with Carrie Fisher. You have to nail them both. And since each one of them is a point of view, the whole book is just going back and forth evenly between Han and Leia's points of view. And you have to get the balance between them right. You have to write the way they love each other, the way they get on each other's nerves. You have to write their fights genuine. You have to write their romantic love scenes genuine. And when I say love scenes, I mean like kissing. This is a very appropriate book. There are allusions to other things happening between a married couple, but we don't see any of the actual scenes themselves. We see, morning after stuff. So this is a very appropriate book, which is very refreshing for a romance, because so many authors just go all the way, and it's just so frustrating. Even YA authors sometimes go all the way nowadays. It's like, this is for younger people. Don't put that in your books. But it's a very appropriate romance, and I think that's what makes the book so good. It's just so wholesome. It's just, this could have been a movie, and it kind of would have worked. I think the fan base would have been okay with it if this had come out, in the 80s. This was an 80s, imagine like a rom-com in Star Wars almost, about like a honeymoon gone wrong. That's almost how I kind of envisioned the pitch of this book. So she gets the characters right. She also just gets Star Wars right. You have to understand the balance of, sometimes some books have way too many aliens, and I'm like, okay, tone it down, I don't need that many aliens. And then I've read some books where it's all humans. Like, the whole book is just humans. And I'm like, don't you think you could add a few aliens in there? Mix it up? And then there's that good balance where you have humans, you have aliens. The humans are your main characters, but the aliens are strong supporting characters, that type of thing. There's a good balance in there. And this book has a good balance of that. The way she writes new worlds perfectly fits in the way that you develop Star Wars worlds, and the way she has previously existing worlds like Endor, which gets a lot of time, just really matches. And if you are a person like me who loves references, you will love this book, because this book references so much in the canon. If you enjoyed, like I did, the Shattered Empire comic, a superb comic, then you'll enjoy this book, because there's some great references to characters and events from that book, or that comic, I should say. Also, there is one reference in particular to Lost Stars that I lost my mind to. When I read that reference, I read a character's name and a planet name, and I was like, oh, I feel like I don't. Wait, what? And I was reading quietly in my room. No one else was in the apartment. And I literally said, wait, what? Out loud. Because I was so shocked to see that name in the book. It made me so happy. And I don't even love Lost Stars that much. And then there are, of course, references to the Aftermath trilogy and to a few other Star Wars projects, which I don't want to get into. I don't want to save some of the fun surprises, but I will warn you that the Lost Stars one is in there, so keep an eye out. I think if you've read Lost Stars, you'll probably be able to find it in here. But that was such a cool reference. And so she has this connectivity that media tie and fiction should do. It also lends a little bit of understanding into Han and Leia's relationship around Return of the Jedi. This really feels, as I said, like a classic Star Wars novel. Not only is the cover art gorgeous, this is the type of cover art I want more of in Star Wars. I want less of this kind of abstract stuff, and less of the weird, I don't know how to say it, movie poster stuff, and more of painting, pastel colors. This is the kind of cover art I want more of in Star Wars. And not only that, it's just that it has this classic feeling that feels like if you take the details of the canon out of the book, it has the tone that it could be written in any timeline. It just feels Star Wars, which for me really works in its favor. Now, I have to address the elephant in the room, which is comparing it to The Courtship of Princess Leia. One is this, because if I don't, I know I'm going to get comments about it, and I also know that I've already gotten requests to do so I will address it. How does it compare? I will state how I feel about The Courtship of Princess Leia as itself, and then also just about the comparison. I read The Courtship of Princess Leia and did not love it. And I thought that where The Princess and the Scoundrel gets the characters of Han and Leia right, I thought that The Courtship of Princess Leia gets them completely wrong. I will give Courtship of Princess Leia a couple points in its favor. It does get the character of Luke correct. I think it really gets Luke. I think that this book also is a fun book, but I feel like the characters of Han and Leia were completely off. The decisions Leia makes in the book do not work for me. The decisions that Han makes in the book do not work for me. And so I was never a Courtship of Princess Leia fan. I should preface that by saying I love the EU. I've been reading the EU for years and love reading it. And also, I'm a big fan of David Farland, who also goes by Dave Wolverton. He wrote the Rune Lord series that I've talked about numerous times on this channel. I love his Rune Lord series. It is in my top 5, possibly my top 3 epic fantasy series of all time. It is so good. So this is not me just saying, well, I just don't like David Farland's style. No, he can write excellent books. I just think that this isn't one of them. So to me, by that metric alone, comparing the books, I liked Princess and the Scoundrel much more. But I think that you could love both of them. You could love this book and love this book. I don't think they're mutually exclusive. And there is this tendency among fans to say, well, it's the real Han and Leia romance is in The Courtship of Princess Leia, so I'm not going to read Princess and the Scoundrel. Or if you're a canon fan, you could say, I'm going to read Princess and the Scoundrel, I'm not even going to go back to The Courtship of Princess Leia. And if you want to read only one timeline and never the other, I can't help you there. But I'm of a mind that I really enjoy both timelines. And I think that there's a lot of value from both. And even though I didn't love The Courtship of Princess Leia, it spurred me to read other books by the same author, and I continued to read other books in the EU. So I think that you can enjoy both and love them both. But if you are an EU purist, you're already going to be ticked off by this book. So I don't know how to help you. Also, as you can see from the cover, the Halcyon makes an appearance in this book, and I think it works really well. One thing that a lot of people forget about Star Wars is that it is first and foremost media tie-in fiction. Its job, the job of the novels, is to tie in and make the overall property better. And like it or not, the theme parks are part of the property. And so tie-in books are going to tie in. And I don't mind the Halcyon. I'm not particularly excited about it. I'm probably not going to ever go to it, but I don't mind when it pops up in the High Republic or pops up in some of the comics or pops up in this, because it's serving a purpose in the story. It makes total sense that that's the luxury cruise liner that Han and Leia would be on in this book. It perfectly works in the narrative. It does not feel forced. Use the force. It does not feel forced. It does not feel out of the ordinary. It perfectly fits the narrative that was necessary for the story. So I do not blame Beth Revis for using it, and I actually think it was very smart because it's a good way. I'm hoping people will read the book, enjoy the Halcyon, and then when they go, if they have the opportunity ever, if they lower the prices, to go to the Halcyon, they'll be able to be like, ooh, I remember that little reference. That's how I felt about Black Spire. Black Spire is an amazing, amazing novel, and it ties into the parks, yes, but it's just an amazing novel, and if I were to ever go to the parks, I would look for Vi Marathi because I remember reading about her. So I just really, it worked for me, but if you're just a person who has an axe to grind about the Halcyon, you might not love this book then. But I think that's the most people who are book readers who are here for book discussions, I think generally are willing to look beyond timelines, and I think that this is going to be a real crowd pleaser overall to the people who read it. I think that the ending was designed because they realized this is an adult novel, we need some action, this is Star Wars, we need action scenes, and so they threw in the end in such a way, it works in the narrative, in the overall narrative, but it was designed in such a way that they could appeal to the fans who were like, this is a romance? Nah, I'm not reading that. And I get it, but I think that if they had just focused on the romance, it would have been even a better book, because the romantic tropes in this book just work. The dynamic of Han and Leia and their love and also anger towards each other really is balanced well here. And I feel like it could have really hit the A-team in its listing in the Star Wars novels, and it dropped a little bit below that because they wanted to do the action storyline at the end. But it's a well done action storyline. It's still really entertaining. It's just not what I would have picked there. So overall, I highly, highly, highly enjoyed The Princess and the Scoundrel. It was a lot of fun. The word I use to describe this book is delightful. Just delightful. I had a smile on my face, cover to cover. It was just so cool. There is one original character in here that I thought was also very delightful in the way he was designed. So, that is my review of The Princess and the Scoundrel. If you've had an opportunity to read it, let me know your thoughts down below. If you're interested in reading it, let me know that too. And until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.